Okay, just getting the YouTube going and the screen share.
Afternoon, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Be with you in one moment. Oh, we have table view represented today. Oh,
We have to keep it up, Rabbi. You have to show the face.
I think there's more Cape Townians here than Johannesburgers. What am I doing wrong?
Only the answer is, what are you doing right if the Cape Townians are there?
Yes, your fame is spreading.
Give me a second. Let's do the screen share.
Right. Rabbi Goldman. What's it about this Rambam class? Can you just post me
All right.
my water?
Sorry, it'll be another minute. I had it all set up beautifully.
My water.
I can't understand. Where is everybody today? And then I realized I was on the Sydenham Shul Zoom instead of the Daily Rambam. So apologies.
Aha.
Okay, here we go. Right.
You want to watch?
Okay, we got a minion. Wonderful.
Rambam.
Ready to roll. A new section today. Beginning. Hilchot Biat Hamikdash, laws of entry into the temple. Who may enter? Where may they go? Under what circumstances may they enter? Under what personal situations may they not enter? What are the protocols, the etiquette? And if a Kohen goes where he's not meant to go, when he's not meant to go, not by the Beth Din, but by heaven. So it could be very, very serious indeed. So I gave a bit of a teaser in the WhatsApp. I said L'chaim is very nice, but Kohanim have to be very, very careful if they're in service. Okay, so with that introduction, let's do the official introduction of the Rambam himself. The laws of entry into the temple contain 15 mitzvot, 2 positive, 13 negative. That a shikr, intoxicated person, may not enter the sanctuary. No one whose hair is disheveled or too long shall enter the sanctuary. The one if he has torn garments, a Kohen can't just go in anytime. You shouldn't leave in the middle of the services. If people become tomei, ritually unclean, they have to leave. If they're tomei, they may not enter in the first place. May not take part in the service. Tvul Yoim, number 10. Tvul Yoim is one who was tomei for one day and he's gone to the mikveh. Now he just has to wait for nightfall for his purity to be returned. So until such time as nightfall comes, he may not take part, even if he's been to the mikveh. The Kohen, before he enters into the service, has to wash not only his hands, but his feet. I always tell the Kohanim in my shul that they should be happy. Here, for duchening, they only have to wash their hands. In the temple, they had to wash their feet and hands at the same time. You'll learn that in a few chapters' time, I'm sure. So a Kohen with a bit of a book might have a problem because he had to bend over and touch his toes and wash his hands and feet simultaneously. So they had to be agile and fit and slim, the Kohanim. person with a physical blemish, a mum in Hebrew, shall not enter the sanctuary nor approach the altar. 13, physical blemish shall not take part in the service. Temporary physical blemish shall not take part until it's cured. And a stranger, what is a stranger? Meaning someone who's not a Kohen. Any Kohanim here today? No? So all of us would be called strangers. Zor in Hebrew. We may not perform the services, only Kohanim may do that. Okay. It's not a very long chapter and it's not too difficult, so we should be able to go through it quite quickly and please God finish in good time. Aleph, Kol Kohen HaKosher LaAvodah. Any priest who is fit to perform temple service, if he drinks wine, he is forbidden to enter the area of the altar or beyond the altar. If he did and performed the service is invalidated and he is liable for Mitzah Bidei Shomayim, death by the hand of heaven. That means the Beth Din will not execute him, but he'll die young. God will arrange circumstances that he'll die young. Usually it was before 60. So it's quite a heavy penalty, and one has to be very, very, very careful about this. Now, in those days, they hadn't yet invented Johnny Walker or single malt whiskeys. So the main alcoholic beverage was wine. And the wine in those days was much, much stronger than it is today. In fact, the wine in those days had to be diluted to become drinkable. That's how strong it was. So we'll learn now, he says, the verse says, you shall not drink intoxicating wine so that you do not die. So we see from there that it could be lethal if he does. And how much do you have to drink? A revi'at. How much is a revi'at? So it depends which rabbi you ask. Some say 86 mil, some say 105 mil. When it comes, 150 mil. The Chazon Ish was an Israeli of halachic authority of the last generation. He was very strict in all his measurements. He said 150. That means for Kiddush, Becher has to have 150 milliliters minimum. The more lenient opinions, which I actually follow, is 86 milliliters. Imagine 4 cups of wine at the Pesach Seder. 86 is a heck of a lot better than 150. It's almost double. So that's why I explained that the wine was very strong, because just one becher of wine doesn't make you shikar. What's the big deal? A Kohen had a 1 cup of Kiddush wine. He can't go serve in the temple. He's 100% compass mentis. He's not inebriated. So the answer is that the wine then was much, much stronger. And a revi'at, whether it's 86 or 150 mil, would render him legally over the limit. They didn't have breathalyzers in the temple, but this was a very serious thing. Now, if you drank less than a revi'at, or you drank it intermittently, you sipped your wine over an hour or 2 or something, or you mixed it with water, or you drank even more than a revi'at, but it was from the vat within 40 days of its being brought into being. I guess it's not as strong then. So then he is exempt, and the service is kosher if he performed the service in that state. If he drank more, even if it was diluted, he's still liable for death and the service is invalidated. Now, what if you had Johnny Walker, not wine? Number 2, if a person is intoxicated from beverages other than wine, he's still forbidden to enter the temple because he's intoxicated. Doesn't matter how he's intoxicated. In fact, we'll soon learn later that there were certain other liquids, beverages that could render a person intoxicated, which to me was news. They're not even, they don't even seem to be alcoholic beverages. You know any non-alcoholic beverages that can make a person intoxicated? Yeah.
Water.
Yeah.
Water.
How does water make you intoxicated?
Yeah, if you have too much, there is a condition, I think it's called hyperhydration or something like that.
Really?
And I don't know if you can get intoxicated, but it can be dangerous.
Okay, that's interesting. I never heard that before, but we'll soon see about some other beverages he'll mention in a moment. Here he says, right here, if he entered other beverages, even if it's from milk or figs, okay? We give our kids milk. I didn't know milk was an intoxicating beverage. Figs is probably, I imagine, they made a juice from it. So
And the juice from pineapples makes a pretty potent beer.
okay, now there is, if you think about it, wine comes from grapes. Grapes itself doesn't make you intoxicated. There's cherry wine and raisin wine and all kinds of wines. But what he says, if it's not from wine, then the service is valid and he's liable for lashes. Now, lashes is not comfortable, but at least you don't die. You could get cured of your pain from the lashes. However, yeah, so he says death is only when drinking wine, and the service to be invalidated is also only if it's wine, not other beverages. Number 3, just as a Kohen may not enter the temple while intoxicated, so too may any person, whether Kohen or Yisrael, may not render a halachic ruling when he's intoxicated. So if a Rov is drinking wine on Simchas Torah and someone asks him a shaila, he should say, come back tomorrow. Because you may not give halachic rulings in a state of intoxication. And he quotes the verse, L'hoirat es b'nei Yisrael. If he gave a ruling concerning a matter that is very, very simple and very obvious, for example, something that is known by the Sadducees, that's the Tzaddikim, who were like an early Reform movement, who only believed in the written Torah, not in the Torah Shebaal Peh, the oral tradition. So even if they even accepted it, so that means it's such a basic thing, then he's permitted because it's so obvious. Why don't we want him to give a halachic ruling when he's intoxicated? Because he can make a mistake. It's obvious. You have to have a clear mind to give a clear ruling. But if it's such a simple matter, then even a guy who's a little tipsy can still get it right. For example, he ruled that a sheretz, there's 8 creepy crawlies that are that render people tameh, the carcasses. He ruled that a sheretz is impure and a frog is pure. A frog is not one of the 8. Or that blood is forbidden, which the Torah says numerous times you may not consume blood. If something's so obvious, then it's okay. Now, he may not give a halachic ruling, the rabbi who's had too much to drink, but he may give a shir. Have you ever had a rabbi slurring his words during the shir? You have? Oh, Kent, you go to a cool shul. You got a cool rabbi. Okay, so he may teach Torah, even interpreting the verses, provided it doesn't deliver any halachic rulings. If he was a sage who delivers rulings on a regular basis, he should not even give a shir, because people will infer from things that he said at the shir halachic rulings, because he's a halachic authority, and therefore he might get it wrong, and he shouldn't get. Therefore, a person of that halachic caliber should not give a shir. 5, when a person drank exactly a revius and it was diluted with the slightest amount of water, or he had a bit of a kip, so he sobered up a bit from his wine, or he took a walk for a mil. How much is a mil? I think it's about a kilometer. Should we look down, number 11? How much exactly is a mil? Doesn't say. Okay, I think it's about a kilometer. So it would take about a kilometer or a mile to walk off the effects of the alcohol. So if he had water, or he slept, or he had a walk, we assume that the effects have worn off and he may serve. But if he drank more than an avius, or he only had a tiny little kip, or a little walk around the block, not long enough, then that might even add to his drunkenness. So depending how intoxicated he was, he must wait until there's no trace of his drunkenness whatsoever before he goes to serve in the temple. The men of the priestly watch. Now, do you remember? We learned about this, I'm sure, right? The Kohanim were divided into families, and they had roster duties, which family is on which week, and they had different families and different clans, and so there's the watch, and then there's the clan. The watch is a larger number of Kohanim, and the clan is a smaller number. So let's say the watch of this week has a number of families, and then you have specific families within that watch. So the men of the priestly watch are permitted to drink wine at night, because they're not serving at night. When do they serve? Only during the daylight hours. So they can have a nice drink at night at dinner, yeah, have a nice bottle of French wine, and then sleep it off. And in the morning, you're ready to serve, no problem. But not during the day, during the week that they serve in the temple. Even the members of the other clans who were not scheduled to work on a particular day are forbidden, lest the temple service overburden the members of the clan who serve that day, and they require other members of the watch to help them. Okay, so you had a watch that was on duty that week, but then they divided the clans, this clan, this family on Sunday, this clan on Monday. They were part of the overall watch. So even if you're part of the overall watch and you're not on duty on Tuesday, you still shouldn't drink on Tuesday, because they might need you. They might call on you to be a substitute if somebody else doesn't pitch or something. So you're sort of on call. So there's on duty and on call. The members of the clan are on duty that day. The members of the watch are always on call during that week. So if you're on the clan that's on duty that day, you're forbidden to drink day and night of that day, lest they drink at night and arise to the service of the morning without the effects of the wine having worn off. That's a bit strange, because we just said before, if you have a kip, it could be okay. So what's the problem? Let's see if he tells us anything here. Okay, different opinions in the commentary of how we understand that. Some say it's the night after, because they might have to work overtime. 7, when a priest knows the watch from which he descends and the clan from which he descends, and he knows the day on which the members of his clan are scheduled to serve in the temple, He's forbidden to drink wine that entire day. If one knows from which watch he's descended, but doesn't know which clan, so he knows he's on duty that week, but he's not sure which day, then he's forbidden to drink wine the whole week. If a Kohen doesn't know the identity of his watch or his clan, so he's not sure of his heredity and his genetics, then the law would dictate that he should never be allowed to drink wine his whole life. He doesn't know. Maybe he's going to be called on tomorrow. So he says an interesting thing. His difficulty leads to his solution. It's a Talmudic term, takanosoi kalkolosoi. What does that mean? His problem is solved by his problem. The problem itself gives the solution also. How so? Because he cannot serve until his watch and clan are established. Only people of that particular clan would serve that day. So he can't come and say, look, I'm a Kohen, but I don't know which clan I belong to. They're not going to say, okay, join us. They're going to say, sorry, go do your genealogical research, check it out on Google, and come back to us, and we'll find out when you have to work. So therefore, he's not going to have to work until he finds out. He won't have a scheduled time to work until he knows where he belongs. So therefore, he actually may drink wine. I remember learning this in the Gemara in Tainus, and it was a very powerful lesson, actually. It said that a Kohen, that after the temple is destroyed, today, there was an opinion, okay? Thank God for the Kohanim, they're lucky it was not the halacha. But there was a Talmudic opinion that argued that today, after the temple is destroyed, any Kohen in the world, a male, should be forbidden to drink a revius, 100 milliliters of wine, anytime, his whole life. Why? Because Mashiach can come any minute, and the temple will be rebuilt, and he'll be called on to do his service, and therefore he can never be ungeshnosket. He has to be in a state of sobriety forever. So as I say, that's not the halacha. But the fact that the Talmud considered such a thing is a powerful lesson about how real Mashiach is, that even affects the halacha. 8. A kohen who lets his hair grow long. Oh, maybe 25 gives us the definition of how long. Have anybody been a school principal? You ever have to expel kids who needed a haircut? Remember those days? I don't think it's a problem today, is it? What was it? 21? No, not 21.
25.
25. Oh, see halacha 11 for a definition. Okay, does that mean we're getting there? Okay. 11. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. Okay, we'll get to 11, which will tell us how long is long. But a priest who has long hair is forbidden to enter the area of the altar or beyond there. Remember, it got holier and holier as you got to the holy section on the temple courtyard. If he enters the area and does the service, he's liable for death at the hand of heaven, the same as a kohen who's shikar. Because the verse says, a verse in Ezekiel, none of the priests shall drink wine, they shall not shave their heads nor allow their hair to grow long. So it's in the same verse, so we see it's the same penalty. 9. Kohanim who let the hair grow long do not disqualify their service, even though they may die, but the service is not invalidated. Just as they are warned against drinking wine, so too are they forbidden to grow their hair long only if they have to enter the temple. If they want to grow it long when they're not on duty, that's fine, but then they're going to have to take a haircut before their time of doing the roster comes up. Now, this applies to an ordinary Kohen. A Kohen Gadol, however, the high priest, is forbidden to let his hair grow anytime, nor may he tear his garments, even in mourning. He's exempt, for he has to be in the temple at all times. Regarding him, the Torah says in Vayikra, he shall not let the hair of his head grow long, nor should he rend his garments ever. But that's only for the Kohen Gadol. Now, what does it mean long? How long is long? So it's much less than what the schools required. School uniform laws. Here he says 30 days. So an ordinary Kohen had to have a haircut every 30 days minimum. He compares it to the Nazirite, and the basic Nazirite period was 30 days. So we see from this that every 30 days minimum he has to have a haircut, a Kohen. The priests who are on the watch, meaning that week they're on call, are forbidden to cut their hair and launder their garments during that week. Why? Because we want them to come in with clean clothes. If we allow them to launder the garments during the week that they're on call, they may get a call up quickly before they went to the laundromat, and they'll come in dirty and unkempt and disrespectfully. So therefore we say you're not allowed to do it during the week. You have to make sure you do it all in good time before your watch comes up, before your roster duty comes up. So you should be well trimmed and have clean clothes. 13. Now, what if your watch finishes in the middle of Yom Tov? Let's say Chol HaMoed Sukkos. Goes for a week. So your watch finishes in the middle of Chol HaMoed. You're allowed to cut your hair in the middle of the festival. Normally, you're not allowed to. We are not allowed to cut our hair or shave during Yom Tov, even Chol HaMoed. But here, because he was not able to do it before, because he was on duty, so we make an allowance for him. If, however, his watch concludes on the day before Yom Tov, then he must do it Erev Yom Tov. Now, similarly, torn garments. Let's say a person was in Shiva, God forbid, he lost a loved one, he had to tear his shirt. So there's two kinds of torn garments. There's torn garments like Kriya when you, God forbid, someone dies, or torn garments, meaning you have simply garments that are torn and shemzach. So he says, it's the same. Again, Vayikra, do not let the hair on your heads grow long or rend your garments lest you die. So if a Kohen served with torn garments, also liable for death at the hand of heaven, but the service is valid. Says the Rambam, it appears to me, so this is a Rambam original, that any Kohen who is fit to serve, who enters the area of the altar or beyond, while intoxicated, or with long hair, or torn garments, is liable for lashes, even if he did not perform any service. 16, the laws that apply to someone who enters beyond the altar and laws that apply to ones who depart from there, going in or going out, are the same. Meaning, if you drank a revius of wine between the ulam and the altar, the ulam is the hall outside, before the altar. So you drank the revius of wine between the ulam and the altar, or you tore the garments there and then you left. So when you went in, you were fine. But then you drank there. Somebody had a hip flask. You ever see a Kohen with a hip flask? So he drank. He found wine there in the temple courtyard, and he well, actually they pour wine. There's libations of wine, so there's going to be wine on the temple. So it's always actually available. So if he couldn't resist, then he took a couple of swigs, and then he left. He's liable for lashes. If he performed the service as he departed, he's liable for death. Now, what about us? What about someone who's not a Kohen? 17, similarly, it's forbidden for any person, whether Kohen or Yisrael, to enter the entire temple area from the courtyard of the Israelites, where Israelites may enter, and onward, where only the Kohanim may go, when he's intoxicated. So even an Israelite who's intoxicated should not go into the courtyard of the temple. or with unkempt long hair, or with torn garments. Although there's no explicit warning against it in the Torah, it is not a sign of honor or reverence to the great and holy house to enter it unkempt. If, however, an Israelite lets his hair grow until it's formed into a weave, and it was not unkempt, meaning he has long hair, but it's very well kept. He's very well groomed with his long hair. He keeps it neat. I don't know if a weave is the equivalent of a ponytail or what. Maybe we'll look at the notes, see if he has anything there. Then it's okay to enter the courtyard. Let's just go down to some of these last notes, see if there's anything to add. Look at 49. Commentary gives the example of the prophet Shmuel Hanovi, who anointed King Saul and King David, who was a Nazirite, so he had long hair. Nevertheless, he combed it until it was attractive, and hence he was allowed to be in the sanctuary. 47 is there's a commandment to fear the temple, meaning to hold the temple in awe and have reverence. So therefore, not going in with intoxicated or torn clothes or unkempt hair is all part of showing disrespect to the house of God. If you went to visit Queen Elizabeth, you would make sure that you were well dressed and well kept. How much more so for the King of Kings? Let's see. Okay, let's see the questions here. May one who is intoxicated teach Jewish law? Please
No.
unmute yourself and answer.
I say no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes, you can.
I say yes.
Actually, it's a qualified yes.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, but we said if he's a halachic authority, then he must not. 2, if a Kohen performs this while he's intoxicated, doesn't matter what he became intoxicated from. You have 3 options.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Haven't even finished.
Number 1.
Number 1 is
number,
correct. Very good.
Number 1.
Number 1 is correct.
Hmm.
A Kohen doesn't know which watch or which clan he's from. May he drink wine?
Yes, number 3.
Yes.
Yes, 3.
Number 3. So we
Number
thought
3.
for a moment, we said there's a possibility here he may never be able to drink wine his whole life, but we said no, because he doesn't know which clan he belongs to, he won't be able to serve. So it's not a problem. He will always be permitted to drink wine. And finally, if the service performed by a priest who let his hair grow long, if he did it, is the service valid or invalid?
Valid.
Valid.
Yes. Valid.
Valid. So he might be penalized. He
Yeah.
might be penalized, but the service is still valid. Whereas in the case of intoxication, he is penalized and the service is invalidated if he was intoxicated with wine. Okay?
Rabbi? Yes, a question. Going back to the washing the hands, am I wrong in assuming that nowadays, I don't know if it was then, it wasn't mentioned, that it's a Levi who helps them with the washing of the hands?
Yes, when we duchen today, a Levi helps with the washing of the hands. I was at a shul in Cape Town over Sukkot, and there were no Leviim present the one morning. So who washed the Kohanim's hands?
Kohen.
No,
Israelite.
no. Well, what kind of Israelite? Not just any Israelite. What do we look for as a substitute if there's no Levi to wash the Kohanim's hands for duchening? The answer is a Bechor, a firstborn Israelite.
Nice.
I'm a firstborn, so I could have gone and washed the hands, but they found someone else. Interesting, huh? You didn't know that, huh?
No, didn't know that one.
Very.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, you learned something today. All right.
Yeah, Rabbi, can I give some further information about the drinking too much water?
About getting intoxicated from H2O.
Yeah, it doesn't say intoxicated, but as I said, can be dangerous. It says here untreated overhydration can lead to dangerously low levels of sodium in your blood. This can cause more severe symptoms such as muscle weakness, spasms, or cramps or seizures. And
So
you
you're,
could,
so you're giving us some balance. Everybody's telling us these days you have to drink so much water. Have 3 liters a day or something. People say, I got
Thanks, Rabbi.
Okay.
and the
Thank you.
and the
Thank you,
symptoms.
Rabbi.
Scotty.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Yes.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Cheers,
Well,
everybody.